Hey, my peeps, it's been a while. I'm not gonna apologize. I'm just gonna say today's video is the very narrow road of the initiate along the path to enlightenment. And it's a topic that only those on the path will really resonate with and understand. People that are going through spiritual awakenings, as the process of ascension keeps going. Many people are on that path right now as our planet is going through major changes. It's obvious to everyone going through a pandemic, having much discord happen at the moment. Um, I understood for quite a while that this was going to happen on the planet just by intuitive understanding of higher truths, in huge amount of in-depth research, but it's been the mental transmutation that has allowed that transcendence to take place, which is mental alchemy. What is mental alchemy? Alchemy was, and still is, it's the science of turning a base metal into gold. It's the purification of the process of purification of your soul, your spirit, on the road to higher levels of consciousness, higher understanding, higher planes of existence. For instance, earth, air, water, fire. The four suits of the tarot. The first, the pentacle, will be earth. The second, the sword, is air. The third is cups, is water. The fourth is the wand, which is fire. Those are correlated to the Kabbalah, the Kabbalistic understanding of truth. There are many ways to truth on the road to initiation, to higher levels of understanding. You can find them in every faith-based system. They happen in myths. Not happen in myths. Many sacred texts that have stories, let's say the parables of Jesus, everything is written in stories, in a form that there is a lesson. And they all have certain hierarchies. They all have certain higher lessons for us to understand. And I'm not saying you can't find ultimate truth in a faith-based system. You can, you certainly can. In any faith-based system, I believe that you can, if you get the proper teaching and the proper understanding. But when we get stuck in dogma, we tend to lose or not be able to reach that higher level of understanding. I used to associate with being a born-again Christian. I still very much resonate with the tenets of Jesus, of how he lived, of living integrity, or integriously, of being a living example of pure faith, of understanding, like the story of the old lady that just wanted to touch his garment, and because she knew she would be healed, and how Jesus said, it's your faith that made you heal. Essentially, that is the truth. It's our faith. I was just watching a documentary that explained all this very well. It started with using The Secret as an analogy to a very small part of what everything is all about. It's Hermetic principles. It's understanding on many levels. It takes much time, much study. It's a slow and it's a very painful process. There's much stripping away in your life. There's much adversity that comes. And as each adversity comes, you first get stuck in ego. That ego is something we all get very stuck in. We don't want to explore ourselves. We don't want to explore our shadow. We are scared of really facing ourselves, who we are inside, um, our darkness, our needs, our traumas, our life experience that's molded us. Um, we don't understand that we don't ever, for the most part, discover new ideas. We essentially regurgitate them because we learn from each other. We are all one. We are all one collective. And all the discord that is happening on our planet right now, the virtue signaling worries me very much. The more we try to control something, the more we try to put something in a box, the less we are able to control it. And the road to hell is paved with good intentions. There are many very good intentioned people right now that feel a sense of desperation because we are in the midst of uncertainty. We are in the midst of the first pandemic in a very long time. There is much uncertainty for many people on the planet because of it. Economic uncertainty being one of them. Our leaders, the people that we look up to and venerate, are not good examples of integrous living, of living authentically, living honestly. There are many people living in manipulative dynamics that are very self-absorbed, that tend to be very narcissistic and tend to prey on other people. We associate, when we live unconsciously, we don't understand that the people in our life serve a purpose for us. They vibrate at the level that we are at the time. That's why we resonate with them. That's why we feel an affinity to them. But life is a progression. Many people come in and out of your life, and they are there to teach us lessons along the journey. The last few years, I've spent much time alone, and I've been lonely sometimes. I can't say that I haven't. I'm not going to lie about that, but it's been a very good process for me because it's allowed me to really dig deep into myself and face every aspect that I possibly can within myself. Whatever my ego was stuck in for a very long time, my childhood was really horrific. It was very traumatic. There was much uncertainty. My mom died when I was very young. I was adopted before that. My parents were older. My father was an alcoholic. He remarried. I was 10 when he remarried. I had an instant family of 2 stepsisters and a younger stepbrother. It was total calamity. Every month they would have a huge fight. Because I was his daughter, and I believed that my stepmother loved me as much as she loved her children because I was a child and didn't understand many things about life as children do not. I would make myself sick. I would try to do that in order to get them back together because they would have a huge fight every month. My father would sit in the dark and drink alone for about a week. I would be downstairs with her kids. She would work nights, so that was a very normal thing. There was a bit of violence. There was much pain, much abuse, much uncertainty. She left the first day of junior high. I came home to a half-empty house. She took many of the things that my mother would have meant for me. It was very traumatic. I won't say that it wasn't. And people sense, especially the ego-based people that want to get attention for themselves because it feeds their self-absorption. It makes them feel powerful. It makes them feel special, and they thrive on it. And the more self-absorbed, the more somebody gets into that dynamic, the more they tend to prey on empathetic, kind, wounded people. And I was certainly one of them big time. I was one of the lowest, on the lowest totem pole in my school, in junior high and in high school. I went to 3 different high schools because of my belief in myself, my lack of belief in myself. I believed I was worthless. I believed that there was something deeply wrong with me, and that's why my mother had died. That's why my stepmother had left. That's why my father was drunk and dysfunctional. Children internalize those things, and it becomes a very toxic dynamic that we work lifetimes to get over. We do live many lives. I encourage you to look into the work of Dr. Ian Stevenson. He studied many young children that remembered their past lives on the study of reincarnation. And it's astounding how many young children who, and it many times it was in India, it was in like Singapore, it was in the eastern part of the world. And many times, because they were more, I believe, open to that sort of belief system because they already believed in reincarnation, many being of like the Hindu faith or Buddhist, and already had that Eastern sort of mystic ideology. So it's something like that was more universally accepted. Therefore, I believe that's probably why he studied people from those countries, because they were more open to his work. And it's been documented that he had about 3,000 cases of children that were able to say who they were, who their families were, how they died, who their children were, the village they lived in, the street they lived in, the people that were in their lives, and like on and on and on. And he would take these children to where they said they grew up and lived, and find their family, find that they actually lived where these children said they did in a previous life. In one instance, they caught the murderer of the person that this person was in a previous life, which is quite astounding. I'm a very open-minded person now. I don't really care what people think, in all honesty. And if any of my family sees this, I don't mean any judgment in the least bit. I know it was genuine concern. But I think my first YouTube video, my brother-in-law actually contacted my husband and said, I think you need to come home because there's something wrong with your wife. And no, there really isn't. I'm so thankful that the hellish journey my life experience has brought me to this. I wouldn't change a thing. I honestly wouldn't, because it's opened me to the higher understanding of truth. And I don't want to be a guru. I just want to share the knowledge that I've learned on the path of initiate, on the road to expansion of awareness, of higher levels of consciousness and understanding. There's so many of us right now on our planet that are going through the same thing. And I think it's really important to share our stories and share our truth and share our experiences so that we feel less alone, so that we're able to understand what's happening on a collective scale. I've been mentored by, honestly, thousands of different people, mostly on YouTube, but or I've used my phone essentially, because it's a little pocket computer, as an encyclopedia, and I've researched and Googled everything I've thought I've wanted to know and learn, and it served me very well. I've delved into human behavior on a quite an extensive way in order to arm myself, understanding now that most people have an agenda. Everybody has an agenda when they come into your life. It doesn't mean it's a bad agenda, but everybody has an agenda. Everybody is hoping you will meet a need in them. And we feel the same way about the person we resonate with. It's just the way it is, because we need each other. We're built to support each other. We are a tribal communal species. We need each other. We need to support and love and relinquish judgment from each other. What's going on right now with the leftist social justice warrior ideology? It's become rather dangerous right now. The virtue signaling, when we start suppressing things and dictating what we believe other people's behavior must be in order to be acceptable on our planet, that's a very dangerous precedent. How can we grow as a species if we are sheep getting told what we can and can't do, and that we will be disciplined for speaking out if we do not assimilate with what everybody else who mostly have good intentions and just want to eradicate the injustice in our world, not understanding that it's not suppressing things, it's relinquishing judgment of things, and instead of becoming separate and separating into different special interest groups, understanding our similarities, that we are all the same, that we all have the same basic needs, that we all need love, that we all need acceptance, that we all need support, that we all need to feel valued, that we all need to feel we have a purpose on this planet, that we all need to feel we're contributing somehow. We all have those needs. We need each other. And what's happening right now, especially with our young people, really scares me. And one of the people I'm sorry, it's late, and sometimes because I have fibromyalgia and I have cognitive issues, my words just do not come out right. So sometimes they will not. I just keep going. One of my heroes is Jordan Peterson, and he's become very vilified and very misunderstood. But what I love about him is how humble he is and how genuine he is. He's not trying to get attention for himself for ego's sake. It's not about that. He cares so much about what is happening on our planet and understands the human condition on such a deep level, and that if we buy into what our egoic mind dictates must only be truthful, and we have the patent on that, that's very dangerous. And when we start suppressing things, that's how Nazi Germany started. How do you think it was an indoctrination of a country? Hitler was very intuitive in his communication. He read what his public wanted to hear, and he based his messages on that precedent. And people responded in droves because they felt beaten down after World War I, because they lost, because their country, their economy was tanked, and they felt so desperate. And he told them they were special. He told them they were the master race, and that they were the new Roman Empire, that they were special, that they were superior. And it fed into their ego, and it fed into their sense of needing to feel superior, because they needed a savior. I have something to tell you. Your savior is yourself. And many people will get angry at me, that I know, for saying that if they discover this, and I apologize for that. I don't mean any disrespect against Jesus in any way, shape, or form. I love Jesus with all my heart. I very much wish to be molded into what he exemplified. That's very important to me. And throughout this journey and understanding, there's so many dimensions to truth, and much of it is in Hermetic principles, mystery school teachings. The road to enlightenment the higher consciousness, higher understanding, and that dogma and reading sacred texts literally is not the way they were intended to be. When we cross over to the other side, many of us will be very surprised at what we find. I'm not saying I have the whole patent on truth. I've worked very hard to embrace suffering because I've used it as a means of eradicating my ego, my selfish state, my desire for accolades, my desire for being self-important or being made to feel self-important. I used to, because I felt so crappy about myself, my awakening began, and because of going through many prescriptions during my 20 odd something years of having poor health, I've fluctuated in weight by about 50 pounds back and forth. It's been a while now that I haven't. Lyrica was one of the really bad ones for me that made me gain a lot of weight. Many antidepressants make you gain a lot of weight. I was desperate for a solution, and like everyone that is desperate for a solution because they've gone through so much trauma, they jump from thing to thing and they think this thing is going to save me, and they put everything into it, and they want so badly for that change to come, and they don't understand that it's a process and that each lesson is designed to bring us nearer, and it will give us glimpses of that truth, but it will not give us the full picture. And many times we get very disillusioned and we get very nihilistic, and we buy into that life is meaningless, and that's when we can get stuck in deep depression, can get suicidal because of the lack of meaning that we feel our lives are, not understanding that the journey is the meaning. And it's not about finding happiness. Happiness is fleeting. No matter who you are, no matter what, you will suffer. Every single one of us understands what suffering is as a human being. The more we suffer, we either become very bitter, very angry, and lash out at the world, or we use it to delve within ourselves. Because I guess maybe we start understanding that that's how it begins, somewhere instinctually, intuitively. We do have many guides that are there that we need to ask for help before they intervene. But there are many miraculous instances of things happening. One not so, or fairly recently, with my husband, who I've spoken about before, hit a horse going 121 kilometers an hour and did not have time to stop. It was a drunk young man who was a Hutterite who was on his horse. It was the day that the state of emergency was declared in our province when the pandemic hit here in Canada, and no one was on the highway. And so I guess this guy figured that, well, he was just going to ride whatever, and was drunk and wasn't paying attention. And my husband thought that that was it. And he's extremely lucky to be alive. The horse died. Miraculously, the rider lived. He was thrown into the ditch and he lived. I think it was because he was drunk and he did not tense up his body. Doing so would likely have caused him to have very serious injuries or be killed. Miraculously, my husband lived. This is his third brush with death, and that's the honest truth. I understand that angels are divine beings that do wish to help us. I pray to the archangels very much. I pray to God, who I call the source of all now. I still say God. But we all understand what divine truth and what pure divinity is in our own way. God is not a man. We as human beings, we have the need to associate what is familiar to us. Thus, we have created the idea that God is a man. It's pure divine love and light is vibrational. It's frequency. In different planes of existence. We are on the mental plane in the third dimension. There are 7 planes of existence that have 7 more subsections, and like 7 more. 7 is a divine number. That's part of it. I am still on the road to learning, even though I've learned very much. The eradication of suffering is a huge part of this journey. We must feel our traumas and feel our pains before we are able to release them. They get stored in our body and our cells, and they become energy blocks within our chakras. We can cleanse them, but it can take a lot of work. It's good to work with an energy healer practitioner, somebody that has does Reiki or EFT, which I'm getting trained in right now. There are so many modalities that we can use to release trauma. Teal Swan has a good video on that I've used as well, about centering yourself, getting quiet and meditative, asking, like allowing the trauma to come in your body, asking where it's from, and allowing yourself to feel it again in the part of your body that you're experiencing it. And in doing so, the energy, for me anyway, and it's the way that she describes it as the process, it actually moved from, I guess, my sacral solar plexus chakra area upward. And I did a lot of crying last summer, about a year ago, was when I really delved deeply into it. And I just allowed myself to have things come up. And they were extremely painful. This process of the higher mind initiation, it's a very, very difficult process. It's not for the faint of heart. I honestly believe the most courageous thing we can do. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my cat to not hit this because I don't want my video to just stop. It's the most difficult, I think, journey that you can take on, but it's a selfless journey, and it's a journey of the stripping away of trauma and eradicating it and allowing yourself to heal and understand things on a higher perspective, and just learn to become intuitive with it. And I've really delved deeply into every aspect that I can in that regard. And I've watched thousands of YouTube videos because I have the time on my hands because of my health. Although it is starting to improve, I've been using crystals a lot as healing. Their frequencies are very high vibration. Different crystals have different color colorations and different vibrational frequencies. And for me anyway, I'm extremely sensitive, and they've worked very very much for me while working through cleansing my chakras. I'm on the Munai He shamanic initiation right now as well, which I will do other videos about, that I'm very excited about. It's part of that initiation for me. And it's such a profoundly beautiful, healing, sacred process. I'm honored. I'm so blessed to have found something like that. I have a friend who's a shaman who I have gone to for some support, for some advice, to discuss many things that we both resonate with. For others who are on this path, I want you to know that some days you will feel like shit. You will feel like, what the fuck? Why am I doing this? Why is it so hard? You will get hit with things that will tear out your soul, that you never thought possible, that break your heart in ways that you can't even imagine. But if you stay on this path, you always come back, and you always come back stronger. You understand it's part of the process, and it's that mental transmutation. And those experiences are designed to allow us to tap into the other trauma that's stuck within us, that is needing to be healed. Because when we experience a trauma, we re-experience other traumas along with it. They become reawakened. Our Kundalini can be awakened from a deep trauma, which is a very difficult experience, because you're not really understanding what's going on while it's happening. There's so much to it. But I want to encourage whoever finds this, and I really believe, I like Sunny Lizard Doozy, I believe that's how you say her last name. She talks a lot about how to make how to find success on YouTube. I haven't focused on that as much. She's become very authentic in her message right now, and she's lost some followers, but one thing that she says that I really resonate with, and I do believe this, those algorithms will damn well resonate and find the people who need to hear the content that you share when you share your truth. And I haven't been able, due to my health and due to the seriousness of the process of the initiate, at times, sometimes I need to go inward, and I need to take time for myself. I will always come back. I will always make other videos. It may be a month, it may be 2 months in between, and I do apologize for that. But I will always come back, and I will always share what I feel is important to share. It's also an exercise in facing my fear, and I've said this before. I don't really enjoy doing this. I really don't. It's hard for me, even though I know I'm called to. I know I'm good at it. I know people will resonate with this that need to. It's not a fun process for me. I don't like being on video. I don't like filming myself. The part that I enjoy is being authentic and allowing myself to let just the wisdom flow through me, and have whoever needs to hear this be able to find it. This is the longest video I've done thus far. I do intend to do others in the next day or two. I'm hoping that I will be able to start a schedule of doing a video once a week and be able to stick to that. I sincerely do. I've just kind of come out much quicker than most would through a very deep betrayal that taught me so much, and that I now cherish, because the blessings that came from it after the fact, and the lessons that not only I learned, but someone that I love with it, every fiber in my being, also learned, and blessed the relationship that we have. So what happened was, its intended purpose has been, I guess, fulfilled. I still have a ways to go in healing, as everyone does. And I still have bad days. I still feel deep pain. I feel some shame in myself. When you get betrayed, you tend to, your ego really makes it difficult, because feeling like a fool, feeling like, it's really horrible being duped. It's really horrible being hurt on that level. But again, when you're on this path, you understand that you've signed on for deep trials, and I mean really deep trials, and that's part of the process. And it's used to mold you into a higher understanding of truth and a higher level of consciousness. And my hope is that in sharing my journey with you, that it allows you to do the same. So that's all that I'm going to say for now. This is Initiation into Truth. My name is Deena, and I thank you for anyone that has found this and listened to what I had to say. I would love it if you liked, subscribed, and shared. I do hope to find my tribe and be able to allow you, or help you grow along with me. That's all I'm doing this for. Doing it so that the people that are meant to hear this do hear it, and that we can create something beautiful. That's really why I do what I do. So, namaste. The light within me sees and honors the light within you. I see you. I value you. I honor you. I wish you love, light, peace, joy, especially meaning, and authenticity. I pray that you can share what resonates with your truth, instead of what the world is throwing at you right now and says must be adhered to. I hope that you can live integrously, that you can live honestly, that you can learn to purify your soul, that you can connect with the deepest, purest, most divine love and light, which is God. That's my deepest wish for you. Thank you so much. I love you all. Peace out. Until next time. Bye-bye.